Welcome to KRA's The Hub, the official podcast of KRA Corporation. And now get ready to hear workforce topics and trends you need to know on the go.
Hello and welcome back to KRA's The Hub. This is Doug Foresta, of course. Very excited to be with Jonathan Overall as usual. Also joining us is Terrance Bowens. He is program manager for KRA. Jonathan, Terrance, thanks so much for letting me be here with you today.
Thanks.
Hey, Doug, it's great to be with you, and Terrance as well. It's always great to be with you. How about we dive into today's conversation? Thanks for joining us today, Terrance. Tell us a little bit about your experience. Obviously, you have an extensive background in program design and really specifically around the customer center design. Can you tell us more about what drew you into this field and perhaps some of the highlights from your experience?
Absolutely. So I think like most workforce development professionals in general, it's one of those things where you're thinking about how you might help others get by or find new opportunities, and find out that we can help them through employment and training programs. And so I think for me, just being able to do that and work through many different programs, many different iterations even of WIOA and publicly funded programs, I sort of found a love for how we do that, right? How that work goes forward. And so that's what kind of got me into workforce development in the longer term. I think as things started to progress in my experience and in my career, and we started hearing more about the idea of human-centered design and what that looks like and feels like in different communities, we thought about what it might look like in our sort of workforce development world, right? One that is typically government funded, but with that comes the sort of government feel of things. I don't mean any shade to the DMV, but that's sort of in line, kind of one person after the other in line, waiting to be called to a window kind of governmental office feel. And that's what we don't want ultimately. I think our systems have operated like that for a long time. So when we looked at those principles of HCD and then started to transition that to what it would look like in our spaces with customers, that's when we started to really think of have some really good ideas about how we can sort of freshen up this experience for folks that come into career centers.
Thank you so much. So I know that you are now out in the Northern Nevada region. I have to say, I don't know much about Northern Nevada. Yeah. And our listeners may not know it that much as well. So talk a little bit about the region, what makes it unique in terms of workforce development needs and opportunities, and kind of, do you tailor your approach to that region?
I appreciate that question because I have learned quite a bit about Northern Nevada now being here, even just adjusting to the climate here. But I will say Northern Nevada, we're in the upper northwest portion of the state. I'm based in Reno, Nevada, which is part of sort of the Reno-Sparks area. This is probably the other major city in the state. As a matter of fact, it's nicknamed the biggest little city in Nevada. Sometimes people call it Vegas's little brother. But in terms of workforce needs and things like that, obviously, this is like other parts of Nevada, area for entertainment. So hospitality and tourism is here, lots of casinos and hotels and that sort of thing. There's also very rural areas out here that may not have lots of access to things like broadband. So we talk a lot about digital equity and access here, as well as things like transportation and companies that come to, and also looking at employers that come into this area to do business. What we see are a lot of distribution centers, places that operate logistics in terms of product supply and delivery. And so a lot of those kinds of businesses, large corporations, exist in this space. This area of Nevada, particularly along with it being where it is in the country, is really great for servicing in terms of distribution areas north of here, West Coast areas, going into the Midwest as you go further east into the country. And so lots of opportunity around transportation, truck driving, and things like that. Industrial opportunities exist here. as far as KRA's approach, what we do is we really want to make sure that above everything else that we're accessible, right? There's no wrong door to access services. And so whether that be via social media, physically coming into the office, setting up appointments so that we can do something virtually, we really want to make sure that we have access to those services, no matter where they are, since they could travel great distances.
That's great. I think that geographical perspective of just where Northern Nevada is and how it plays a key role in logistics and some of those industries is really key. And you touched on at the end there, Terrance, about KRA's approach. Let's dive more into that. Tell us about the overview of KRA's role as the one-stop operator for the EmployNV Career Hub. And what are some of the core responsibilities of KRA as the one-stop operator?
As the one-stop operator, we are responsible for essentially being the conveyor of services, a facilitator of services. So our job and goal is to ensure that individuals who come into the hub, the EmployNV Career Hub, access services related to training and employment, and even beyond that. And so our process is relatively simple. We make it so that there aren't a lot of hoops and things that people have to jump through to get access to services. There are certain partners that have walk-in days, but other than that, we don't require any appointments or any pre-registrations to sign up to attend something. If you see something that you'd like to attend, come on in. And so that's our open and welcome approach to operations. But essentially, what we're responsible for is connecting individuals to programs related to employment so they can get things like resume assistance, job search assistance. If they're looking for a training program, maybe to pursue a credential, we can get them connected there. There are services for young adults, ages 18 to 24. And then we also have some additional services like the TANF program, where we can help people access any welfare benefits they might need or food stamp benefits. We also have a representative from the adult education program there. So if people want to work on their GED or high school diploma, we provide access to that through the hub. So in operating this hub, our goal is to really make sure that whoever needs something that we have, they can come in and have access to it as unfettered as possible. And that goes back to that customer-centered approach, right? Nobody wants to be waiting for hours and hours or come in to be told they have to come back another time with this, and that. And so when we think about our customer and put that at the core of our responsibilities, it starts to almost answer itself in terms of how we operate so that the customer is at the heart of that experience.
So, Terrance, you mentioned the DMV. We've all been there.
Right.
And even the DMV, I have to say, the one near me in Massachusetts, they don't have the window. Even they have been working clearly on customer-centered design. But talk a little bit about some of the principles of customer-centered design and a little bit more and how it shapes your approach. What does that look like?
Well, the principles really stem around the design process, around clarifying what needs are, creating some ideations and iterations of what they could look like, and then putting them into practice and seeing how they fare as it relates to the customer experience. One of the things that I appreciate about looking at program design through that lens of customer-centered design is the idea that the people you're trying to serve typically have the answer on how best to serve them. So rather than us kind of sit back and figure out programming and ways to engage people and do all the things that we are either trained or taught to do or learned over experience, at some point, we actually have to start having conversations with customers, with job seekers, with employers, right? How do we best serve you? What makes sense in terms of what you are coming in experiencing? And so one example of that was in our hub, we had lots of different logos and posters up from many different partners within the community and within our hub, and they're all represented there. And so it's not that they didn't have a place there, but when it came to the customer's perspective, the customer was just walking into a space looking for assistance, and they didn't really seem to care who gave it to them, where it came from. They weren't that concerned about program names and logos and all these things. They just wanted access to service. And it started to become confusing it started to confuse them in terms of who was helping them, where the service was coming from. And so that really fed our ideas around rebranding the center and repositioning it so that we have one name. And we did that in conjunction with and almost on behalf of our Workforce Development Board here in Nevada Works, and rebranded to EmployNV. And it was really about creating one name, one look, so that individuals would come in and they weren't confused about who was helping them, confused about who they had to ask for, looking at all these different logos and things like that, trying to figure out what direction to take. So being in touch with our customer, not treating them like a number, not treating them like we know better than them how to serve them, is, for me, one of the best parts about using this approach. You really get to know who you're serving and what they need, and then you tailor it so that they can benefit from it, in some cases as quickly as possible.
That's great. Now, Terrance, you've talked about the EmployNV and the Career Hub, and EmployNV is part of the state of Nevada and the effort towards connecting businesses and job seekers. And one of the things on their website, it talks about the integrated service delivery model. Tell us about KRA's role within that. How does KRA actually facilitate that collaboration between the partners?
Mm-hmm. We do that a number of ways. First thing I want to say, that sort of comes from the idea, it's a premise that a lot of times we're all serving the same customer, right? Meaning that sometimes there's one person who is going to access multiple services at a given moment. And so if we're all serving the same customer, then we need to integrate services together so that we can meet that customer's need without sending that customer in a whirlwind all over the place. And so one of the things we've implemented within our hub is a interagency referral system. What that is, when a customer is meeting with a partner program and they're accessing services through them, and they get alerted, the program, gets alerted that this person could benefit from another service, what we'll do is we'll actually use this referral form to refer them over to the next provider right in our same space, so that that provider gets that information, can work with that customer right then. If the customer needs to leave and they want to follow up, we can follow up and have them come back at a later date, maybe with an appointment or a specific meeting time. But it really does allow us to weave and braid services together so that the customer is getting one experience, because of how often we see customers accessing multiple services at a single time. You know, someone who maybe coming in because they want to upgrade their career. Maybe they have been separated from work and they're looking to get back into work, but they'd like to move into more of a supervisory role. So maybe there are some classes that they could take, some training they could do. But during this time, while they might be collecting unemployment insurance benefits, they may also benefit from some food-related benefits as well. So we can actually have them connect right there in the office to the social services worker who can help with that. That person also may have a family, may have a child who was 20 years old, finished school, not really doing much, and wants to get them into the workforce as well. Well, now we can extend that to families and look at that sort of two-generational workforce that that term has been bounced around a bit, where we are looking at how we assist families as well. And so that integrated service approach really creates that one experience and that one sort of hub experience for the individual. And then what we love to see is when that actually spills over into families. You know, families start to come in, people bring their children in. We actually even have a family corner and our resource room where individuals who are caring for small or young children, but they still need to kind of come in and get some resume work done or something. We set up a little play area there so that individuals can come in and use the computer and keep an eye on their children at the same time. We've got a little library and some toys there. So we really want to make it something that is for multiple generational households. And we know that having that integrated approach definitely contributes to the ease of access when it comes to services.
Well, this all sounds amazing. I'm sure that listeners are going to check out what you're doing. So you've been doing a lot. Are there any goals, any things that you're working on now that you're hoping to implement either in the near future or the distant future? What are some goals that you have ahead for the center?
Absolutely. So there are lots of things down the road we're considering. We want to be able to sort of see what we can do. We're always thinking about continuous improvement, right? How do we improve the quality and the experience? And so working with the Workforce Development Board there in Nevada Works, we've been looking at different systems to maybe try to enhance our interagency referral process, that integrated service delivery process, looking at that closer and seeing what systems might be able to better assist there. We're also looking at it aesthetically. What does the center look like and feel like when people walk in there, right? Is it warm? Is it welcoming? Is it inspiring and motivating? Is it just a cubicle farm where people just kind of come in and sit at desks and that sort of thing? Is there a way to bring art and other inspirational, motivational things into the space so that people not only come in and use it as they need to, but they also feel great about using it? And what are people responding to in terms of where we have the placement of everything from our security guard to where we have a resource area where people can access bits of information that they might need to take? All of it is in consideration and something that we're constantly working at to make sure that customers feel great. Our client in Nevada Works feels great about the work. Our partners within the hub feel great and supported through our operational efforts. So it's definitely a living and breathing thing. But those are just a couple of things that we're actively looking at down the road as we continue on creating great customer experiences in the workforce development space.
Terrance, this has been a very insightful conversation. I want to thank you for the time today. You and I work together as colleagues as well on many of these efforts, but you're really spearheading the project here in Northern Nevada. You've given us a great overview, really, of the geographical dynamic that's at work there. Also the approach of customer-centered design and how that's integrated. I love the illustration of the look and the feel and the aesthetics and how that translates to the customer and elevating that experience. So again, I want to thank you for your time and really the look into what is one-stop operations and being the convener of integrated services here at this level. In case people would like to learn more about what's happening in Northern Nevada, is there a website or social media that they could follow?
Mm-hmm. For social media on all platforms, we are EmployNV North. So Facebook, Instagram, and such. You can follow us at EmployNV North. We post things from job opportunities and hiring events, but also job seeker advice too. If you need some quick help on brushing up for an interview, you might find some posts about that too. So check us out on social media, EmployNV North.
All right. Thank you. Well, again, Doug, thank you. It's always great to co-host with you as well. And Terrance, you both have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Thank you both. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to KRA's The Hub. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about KRA Corporation, visit www.kra.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.